Something I feel as though a lot of people end up a little bit confused about when they're getting into the property game, and it's how much do you actually need to earn in order to invest in a property. So in today's video, I'm going to break down exactly that. This particular video is going to be more specific on the Brisbane market, where I'm particularly focused. Now, I just want to announce that this is not financial advice. This is not specific to any person's personal situation. And as always, go talk to a mortgage broker if you're unsure about your current financial position and whether or not you can go and invest. This is just generalized information based on the feedback that I've received from our personal mortgage broker. So the reality is there is no silver bullet when it comes to financing the purchase of a home. There's so many different factors that are going to come into play, and no one person or no one situation is going to be analysed the same. There's many different banks out there that all offer different rates, that all offer different services, that are all going to provide you with a different loan. So I always say that it is in your best interest to work with a mortgage broker as opposed to going directly to a bank, because they're going to be able to look at an array of different banks as opposed to just the one specific one when you walk into a bank. They're also going to be able to help you plan for the future and help you set your finances up in a way so that it's not just about this next purchase, but they're thinking about purchases in the future as well. And as an investor, it's really important to set yourself up in a way so that you can continue moving forward in the future and you're not getting yourself in a sticky situation where you're going to be stuck for years on end. So the first thing that we've been told is income is key. You need to have a stable job, and you need to basically be full-time employed or run your own business for at least over 2 years. Now, what we've been told from our mortgage broker is that you need to be earning basically a minimum of $55,000 per year in order to service the loan. Because what the banks are looking at here when it comes to finance is your serviceability. So if your tenants stop paying rent, or if you have to pay for that mortgage, they want you to be in a position where you can service that loan and not end up in some financial hardship. So that's essentially what they're looking at there. It appears to be a non-negotiable for the banks at the moment. If you've just started your own business, they're waiting at least 2 years worth of tax returns before they'll even look at you. If you're casually employed or even part-time employed, then this can be really difficult without years and years of records as well. So the best thing to do is have a solid full-time income for you to be able to get into the market, looking at that base level of sort of $55,000. The next thing is the value of the properties. Obviously, that is going to come into consideration because you don't need to necessarily buy an extremely expensive property. Where we see value at in the Brisbane market right now, as I said, I wanted this video to be specific to Brisbane because that's where we're focusing at the moment. And in Brisbane, we see value at about $320,000 or above as a purchase price for the property. The reason that this is where we see value is because this is going to allow you to buy a house, which is what we like to invest in because we know long-term houses outperform units. It's going to allow you to buy within 20 to 30 kilometers of the Brisbane CBD. So you're not going too far from the CBD where you're not going to get exposed to that long-term capital growth. It's going to get you in a nice big piece of land, and obviously the power is in the land, so the larger land component that you control, the better. It's also going to get you into a relatively quality area. So an area where there's low vacancy rates, where there's good amenities, where there's good school districts, where the average household income is solid, where there's a higher percentage of owner occupiers compared to renters, because you don't just want to buy anywhere. We want to make sure that we're thinking about the future potential of this particular area, and we need to be making sure that we're focusing on those fundamentals. So we look at a base level of $320,000, but obviously you can stretch that as far as you want to go. So then we look at that base level, and at the moment, in terms of a deposit, which is the next step, essentially you need to save up a deposit in order to finance a loan. So it's not just about how much income you have, it's how much cash, how much skin you're willing to put into the game. And what the banks are looking for at the moment is about 10% deposit or more. So 10% of $32,000, of $320,000 is going to be $32,000 as a deposit. So you need to make sure that you've got at the bare minimum that. But what you've also got to take into consideration is closing costs. So it's not free to close on a property. That's the reality. There is additional fees that need to be taken into consideration. So if you're buying an investment property, it's not just a $32,000 deposit. You've got to pay stamp duty, you've got to pay solicitor fees, you've got to pay for building and pest reports, which obviously add up. So stamp duty is really simple to calculate. All you need to do is jump onto Google, type in stamp duty calculator Queensland, enter in the purchase price of the house, let them know that it's going to be an investment, and it will spit out approximately what your stamp duty is expected to be. So if you're buying a property at around $320,000, you're looking at a stamp duty price of over $10,000, somewhere between $10,000 or $12,000. And as the purchase price goes up, the stamp duty goes up there as well. So that's an extra $10,000 that you need to have. Then when you think about soliciting fees as well, on average, a good solicitor or conveyancer in Queensland is going to cost you at least sort of $2,000, and they're going to help you settle on the property correctly. So they're going to review the contracts, they're going to negotiate with the seller's solicitors, they're going to make sure that everything is happening in a timely manner so that you can successfully settle on the property. So they're absolute must have a solicitor, but then there's an extra $2,000 that you need to factor in. Then we always recommend getting a building and pest inspection done as well. This is to check on the structural integrity of the building and whether or not there's any pest issues like termite. So really important. I think building and pest reports pay their weight in gold. On average, they cost around $500 to complete. So it's just one of those additional costs that you need to take into consideration there, and you should definitely get one done also. So they're the major fees. So just looking at that alone, you know, you're looking at sort of at least $45,000 in cash to be able to settle on a property there. So it's starting to get up there a little bit. But then if you're not really a pro at property investing, and if you're not comfortable with doing this alone, then you may want the help of a buyer's agent. That's essentially exactly what we do. We're a full service buyer's agency where we help first-time investors and very successful investors purchase properties in the Southeast Queensland property market. And as a buyer's agent, we charge a fee. Now, the average buyer's agency cost in Australia is around $8,000 to $16,000 depending on who you use. So that's obviously another fee to take into consideration. When we're talking to people and when we're onboarding clients or doing strategy sessions with clients, we like to say as a minimum, you need about $55,000 worth of income and about $55,000 worth of savings to be able to move forward and purchase a quality investment property in Brisbane. So they're the fees that it's going to cost you in order to purchase your first place in Brisbane. I hope you've enjoyed this video, guys. If you are a little bit unsure about what your next steps are going to be, and if you're thinking about purchasing an investment property soon and you want to learn more about the market, and you potentially want to work with a buyer's agent, then we do offer completely free strategy sessions where we will look at your situation right now. We will then talk about your goals. We'll talk about the things that are currently holding you back, and we'll help you create a plan as to what your next action steps are going to be so that you can get yourself into the market. So if that's something that you want to do, then head over to our website, pumpedonproperty.com, and follow the free strategy session links to book that in with either myself, Simon, or my brother Ben. I hope you've got a bit of value out of today's video, guys. Obviously, investing in property costs a bit of money, but there is so much potential financial gain from investing in property if you do it successfully. So make sure that you understand exactly what you're doing, make sure that you're creating the right plan, and as always, invest safely. Thanks for listening.